We have already added the SQLite packages necessary for us to use SQLite databases inside of our applications to each of the projects that we have in the solution. It's time that we start implementing that functionality. Now, we briefly mentioned that we are going to need platform-specific code because each of the platforms, each of the operating systems are going to be using a different path, a different location to store the database. And so we will have to go to the Android and iOS projects to tell the portable class library where is that location going to be. If you think about it, we also need a way to tell the portable class library where is that file going to be. And right now, we do know that there is a channel that connects our Android and an iOS application to the portable class library. And that is that both the Android and the iOS projects are calling the app constructor, are creating an instance of the app class. Right now, this constructor does not receive anything, and then of course this execution is performed. But what if we added certain functionality to allow this constructor to ask for that location right from the beginning? So what we're going to do is have two constructors. We briefly had two constructors in the previous section when we talked about creating instances of a class. We had one constructor that was a parameterless constructor and one that received one parameter. It's going to be something very similar in here. We're going to have another constructor, and remember that we can define a constructor by just writing CTOR. And this constructor is going to request a string, which is going to be database location. And then it is going to do the exact same thing as the previous constructor, but it is also going to set that database location to another variable. We're going to need a public static string variable in here that is going to be database location. And that at the beginning is just going to be an empty string. But if this constructor is called instead of this constructor, then the local database location is going to be assigned to the database location that is being received through the arguments of the constructor. And because remember that the app is always going to be accessible, and for the same reason that we are able to define resources inside of the app.saml file, we will always have access to this database location variable. And it is going to be equal to whatever is received in the constructor. And we know that the constructor is always called when creating the Android and iOS applications. But right now, the constructor that is being called is the previous constructor. So we will have to go to our Android project and open the main activity. And we will have to change what constructor is being called in here. Notice that we now have access to both constructors, the parameterless constructor and the one that requires a string. And the same applies to the app delegate file that we have on the iOS project. We have a call to the app class, or we're creating an instance of the app class, and we also have access to both constructors. So it's in here where we want to pass the string of where is the database going to be located. That is what we are going to take a look in the next section. We're going to talk about why is the location different on Android and on iOS. We're going to create the path for the location of the database, and we're going to pass that string to the app constructor so the portable class library now knows where is the database supposed to be stored.